Chapter 16 The Magic Fire, with considerations of the thurible, the charcoal, and the incense. Into the magic fire all things are cast. It symbolizes the final burning up of all things in Shiva Darshana. It is the absolute destruction alike of the magician and the universe. The thurible stands upon a small altar. My altar is of open brasswork, burned thereon in silver or gold. Where footnote, quotation corrected, this altar stands in the east, as if to symbolize the identity of hope and annihilation. This brass contains the metals of Jupiter and Venus fused in a homogeneous alloy. This is then symbolical of divine love, and it is open brass work because this love is not limited in direction or extent, it is not particularized, it is universal. Upon this altar stands the censer proper, it has 3 legs symbolical of fire. Footnote, because Shin, the Hebrew letter of fire, has 3 tongues of flame, and its value is 300. Its cup is a hemisphere, and supported from its edge is a plate pierced with holes. This censer is of silver or gold, because they were called the perfect metals. It is upon perfection that the imperfect is burned. Upon this plate burns a great fire of charcoal, impregnated with nitre. This charcoal is, as chemists now begin to surmise, the ultimate protean element, absolutely black, because it absorbs all light, infusible by the application of any known heat, the lightest of those elements which occur in the solid state in nature, the essential constituent of all that known forms of life. It has been treated with nitre, whose potassium has the violet flame of Jupiter, the father of all, whose nitrogen is that inert element which by proper combination becomes a constituent of all the most explosive bodies known, and oxygen, the food of fire. Where footnote, that is to say, this nitre is potassium nitrate or saltpeter. Such charcoal impregnated with potash is now commonly sold for incense burning in the form of discs with an indentation in the top. 3 Kings charcoal is a popular brand, but some self-starting barbecued briquettes are also of this composition and are much less expensive. This fire is blown upon by the magician, this blaze of destruction has been kindled by his word and by his will. Into this fire he casts the incense, symbolical of prayer, the gross vehicle or image of his aspiration. Owing to the imperfection of this image, we obtain mere smoke instead of perfect combustion. But we cannot use explosives instead of incense, because it would not be true. Our prayer is the expression of the lower aspiring to the higher, it is without the clear vision of the higher, it does not understand what the higher wants. And, however sweet may be its smell, it is always cloudy. In this smoke illusions arise. We sought the light, and behold the temple is darkened. In the darkness this smoke seems to take strange shapes, and we may hear the crying of beasts. The thicker the smoke, the darker grows the universe. We gasp and tremble, beholding what foul and unsubstantial things we have evoked. Yet we cannot do without the incense. Unless our aspiration took form it could not influence form. This also is the mystery of incarnation. This incense is based upon gum-olibanum, the sacrifice of the human will of the heart. This olibanum has been mixed with half its weight of storax, the earthly desires, dark, sweet, and clinging, and this again with half its weight of lignum aloes, which symbolizes Sagittarius, the arrow. Footnote, note that there are 2 arrows, the divine shot downward, the human upward. The former is the oil, the latter the incense, or rather the finest part of it. See Libakadksvi, 5th Ethyr. And so represents the aspiration itself, it is the arrow that cleaves the rainbow. This arrow is temperance in the taro, it is a life equally balanced and direct which makes our work possible, yet this life itself must be sacrificed. In the burning up of these things arise in our imagination those terrifying or alluring phantasms which throng the astral plane. This smoke represents the astral plane, which lies between the material and the spiritual. One may now devote a little attention to the consideration of this plane, about which a great deal of nonsense has been written. When a man shuts his eyes and begins to look about him, at first there is nothing but darkness. If he continues trying to penetrate the gloom, a new pair of eyes gradually opens. Some people think that these are the eyes of imagination. Those with more experience understand that this truly represents things seen, although those things are themselves totally false. As first the seer will perceive grey gloom, in subsequent experiments perhaps figures may appear with whom the seer may converse, and under whose guidance he may travel about. This plane being quite as large and varied as the material universe, one cannot describe it effectively. We must refer the reader to Libero and to Equinox 2, pages 295 to 334. This astral plane has been described by Homer in the Odyssey. Here are Polyphemus and the Lestrygons, here Calypso and the Sirens. Here, too, are those things which may have imagined to be the spirits of the dead. If the student once take any of these things for truth, he must worship it, since all truth is worshipful. In such a case he is lost, the phantom will have power over him, it will obsess him. As long as an idea is being examined you are free from it. There is no harm in man's experimenting with opium smoking or feeding on nuts, but the moment he ceases to examine, to act from habit and without reflection, he is in trouble. We all of us eat too much, because people, liveried and obsequious, have always bustled up 5 times daily with 6 months' provisions, and it was less trouble to feed and be done with it, than to examine the question whether we were hungry. If you cook your own food, you soon find that you don't cook more or less than you want, and health returns. If, however, you go to the other extreme and think of nothing but diet, you are almost sure to acquire that typical form of melancholia, in which the patient is convinced that all the world is in league to poison him. Professor Schwainhunt has shown that beef causes gout. Professor Nashktikov proves that milk causes consumption. Sir von Ratz tells us that old age is brought on by eating cabbage. By and by you reach the state of which Mr. Head Carrington make his proud boast. Your soul food is chocolate, which you chew unceasingly, even in your dreams. Yet no sooner have you taken it into you than you awake to the terrible truth demonstrated by Gutterbach Q. Hosenschisser, 4th Avenue, Grand Rapids, that chocolate is the cause of constipation, and constipation of cancer, and proceed to get it out of you by means of an enema which would frighten a camel into convulsions. A similar madness attacks even real men of science. Metchnikoff studied the diseases of the colon until he could see nothing else, and then calmly proposed to cut out everyone's colon, pointing out that a vulture, who has no colon, is a very long-lived bird. As a matter of fact, the longevity of the vulture is due to its twisted neck, and many thoughtful persons propose to experiment on Professor Metchnikoff. But the worst of all phantasms are the moral ideas and the religious ideas. Sanity consists in the faculty of adjusting ideas in proper proportion. Anyone who accepts a moral or religious truth without understanding it is only kept out of the asylum because he does not follow it out logically. If one really believed in Christianity, footnote, one would go mad if one took the Bible seriously, but to take it seriously one must be already mad. Crowley. If one really thought that the majority of mankind was doomed to eternal punishment, one would go raving about the world trying to save people. Sleep would not be possible until the horror of the mind left the body exhausted. Otherwise, one must be morally insane. Which of us can sleep if one we love is in danger of mere death? We cannot even see a dog drown without at least interrupting all our business to look on. Who then can live in London and reflect upon the fact that of its 7 million souls, all but about 1,000 Plymouth Brethren will be damned? Yet the 1,000 Plymouth Brethren, who are the loudest in proclaiming that they will be the only ones saved, seem to get on very well, thank you. Whether they are hypocrites or morally insane is a matter which we can leave to their own consideration. All these phantoms, of whatever nature, must be evoked, examined, and mastered, otherwise we may find that just when we wanted there is some idea with which we have never dealt, and perhaps that idea, springing on us by surprise, and as it were from behind, may strangle us. This is the legend of the sorcerer strangled by the devil. Glossary. Only words nowhere explained in the preceding pages are given in this list. Several others, mentioned in passing in the early part of the book, are sufficiently dealt with later on. In these cases the references in the index should be turned up. A. The Great White Brotherhood which is giving this method of attainment to the world. See Equinox I. Adeptus Minor. A grade of adeptship. See Equinox 3. Ethis. See Equinox V and 7. Ama. The Great Fertile Mother Nature. Ama. The Great Mother not yet fertile. Amaun. The God Amen equals Zeus equals Jupiter, etc., etc. Ankh. The symbol of life. A form of the rosy cross. See Equinox 3. Apophis. The serpent god who slew Osiris. See Equinox 3. Babylon, Our Lady. See Equinox V, the vision and voice, 14th Ethir. Babe of the Abyss. See Equinox 8, Temple of Solomon. Bhagavad Gita. Scared Hymn of India, translated by Sir Edwin Arnold in the song Celestial. Bina. Understanding, the third emanation of the Absolute. Caduceus. The Wand of Mercury. See Equinox 2 and 3. Kila. Pupil. Chst. Mercy, the fourth emanation of the Absolute. Chokma. Wisdom, the second emanation of the Absolute. Kurans. See Equinox V, the vision and the voice, 10th Ethir. City of the Pyramids. See Equinox V, the vision and the voice, 14th Ethir. Crux ansata. Same as Ankh, Qvidath. Knowledge, child of Chokma and Bina in one sense, in another, the home of Kurans. Dhammapada. A sacred Buddhist book. Elemental Kings. C 777. Jebra. Strength, the fifth emanation of the Absolute. Gunas. Three principles. See Bhagavad Gita, Sikh, 777, etc. Guru. Teacher. Hadit. See Liber Legis, Equinox 7. Also Liber 555. Hath Ayoga Pradipika. A book on physical training for spiritual purposes. Hod. Splendor, the eighth emanation of the Absolute. Kama. Pali dialect of karma, Guvi karma. That which is made, the law of cause and effect. See Science and Buddhism, Crowley, Col. Works, Volume 2. Keva. The Crown, first emanation of the Absolute. Lao Tzu. Great Chinese teacher, founder of Taoists. See Tao Te Ching. Liber Legis. See Equinox 7 for facsimile reproduction of Miss Lingam, the unity or male principle. But these have many symbols, for example, sometimes yoni is 0 or 3 and lingam 2. Lingam yoni. A form of the rosy cross. Macrocosm. The great universe, of which man is an exact image. Magus. A magician. Technically, also, a master of the grade 9 degree, equals 2 square. See Equinox 7, Libri, and elsewhere. Mahalingam. See Lingam. Maha means great. Mahasatipatthana. A mode of meditation. See Science and Buddhism, Crowley, Col. Works, Volume 2, for a full account. Malka. A young girl. The bride. The unredeemed soul. Malkuth. The kingdom, 10th emanation of the Absolute. Mantra Yoga. A practice to attain union with God by repetition of a sacred sentence. Master of the Temple. One of grade 8 degree, equals 3 square. Fully discussed in Equinox. Microcosm. Man, considered as an exact image of the universe. Nefesh. The animal soul of man. Netsuch. Victory, the 7th emanation of the Absolute. Nibbana. The state called, for want of a better name, annihilation. The final goal. Nirvana. See Nibbana. Knew it. See Liber Legis. Paths. See 777, and Equinox 2 and elsewhere. Padurabo, Frater. See Equinox IX. The Temple of Solomon the King. Prana. See Raja Yoga. Kabbalah. See the tradition of secret wisdom of the Hebrews, Equinox V. Cliffoth. Shells or demons. The excrement of ideas. Rahu or Kuit. See Liber Legis. Ruach. The intellect and other mental qualities. C. 777, etc. Sahasrara. The Temple of Solomon the King. See Equinox 4. Samasati. See the Training of the Mind, Equinox V, and the Temple of Solomon, Equinox 8. Also Science and Buddhism, Crowley. Works, Volume 2 Sankara. See Science and Buddhism. Sana. See Science and Buddhism. Sepharoth. See Temple of Solomon, Equinox V. Shin. A tooth. Hebrew letter equals SH, corresponds to fire and spirit. Shiva Sanhita. A Hindu treatise on physical training for spiritual ends. Skandhas. See Science and Buddhism. Tao. See Consideratio, Thean Tao. 777, etc. Tao Te King. Chinese classic of the Tao. Daro. C. 777, Equinox 3 and 8, etc., etc. Tau. Across, Hebrew letter equals th corresponds to earth. C. 777. Thormeal. The demons corresponding to Kether. Two contending forces. Theosophist. A person who talks about yoga, and does no work. Thoth. The Egyptian god of speech, magic, wisdom. Typharath. Beauty or harmony, the sixth emanation of the Absolute. Typhon. The destroyer of Osiris. Udana. One of the imaginary nerves of Hindu pseudo-physiology. Vedana. See Science and Buddhism, Crowley, Works, Volume 2. Vesica, Vesica Pisces. See Yoni. The oval formed by the intersection of the circles in Euclid 1. Virakam, Sara. Aquila of Fratapa Jurabo. Vrittis. Impressions. Yazid. Foundation. The ninth emanation of the Absolute. Yogi. One who seeks to attain union with God. A Hindu word corresponding to the Muhammadan word fakir. Yoni. The dyad, or female principle. See Lingam. Zohar. Splendor, a collection of books on the Kabbalah. See the Temple of Solomon the King, Equinox V. Notice the A.A. is an organization whose heads have obtained by personal experience to the summit of this science. They have founded a system by which everyone can equally attain, and that with an ease and speed which was previously impossible. The first grade in their system is that of student. A student must possess the following books: The Equinox, 777. Consideratio. Collected works of A. Crowley, Tannhauser, The Sword of Song, Time, Eleusis. 3 vols. Raja Yoga, by Swami Vivekananda. The Shiva Sanhita, or the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. The Tao Te King and the Writings of Quantz, SBE 39, XL. The Spiritual Guide, by Miguel de Molinos. Richelec Dogme de l'Aut Magie, by Eliphas Levi, or its translation by A. E. Waite. The Geisha of the Lemegeton of Solomon the King. These books should be well studied in any case in conjunction with the second part, Magick, of this book 4. Study of these books will give a thorough grounding in the intellectual side of their system. After 3 months the student is examined in these books, and if his knowledge of them is found satisfactory, he may become a probationer, receiving Liberelex I and the secret holy book, Liberelex V. The principal point of this grade is that the probationer has a master appointed, whose experience can guide him in his work. He may select any practices that he prefers, but in any case must keep an exact record, so that he may discover the relation of cause and effect in his working, and so that the A.A. may judge of his progress, and direct his further studies. After a year of probation he may be admitted a neophyte of the A.A. and receive the secret holy book Liber 7. These are the principal instructions for practice which every probationer should follow out. Libri E. A. O. 3, 30, CLXXV, CC, CCVI, CMXI.